Hey guys, Ike here from IkesOutdoors.com. I'm here today to talk to you a little bit about my latest project, my latest custom bow. I've been getting a lot of questions about it because I've showed it in a few videos. And I started out videoing the process behind this thing, but it really didn't turn out nothing like I originally planned. And my plan just kept changing and kept changing. And so I didn't film it, the process as I went. But I want to talk to you guys about what I did, and I'll piece together, I'll show in some of the initial stripping process because that's about all I filmed. But what I did this year was I took this Bear Motive 7, and the original finish on it was a little bit rough. It had a little bit of damage here and there, and so I decided to go ahead and strip it down and paint it up like you see here. And I've got it a tan, just like a flat tan in here. And the accessories on this are copper painted the cams, all the accessories, stabilizers, my cable roll, my rollers, limb pockets, pretty much everything. My rockers back here, except for the riser and the limbs. So I'm going to talk to you about the process that I used to get this thing stripped down and what I did to get it painted like you see it now. Okay, so I'm going to show you some of the footage. We'll just put it in here over me, and I'll mute the original sound of it because, like I said, I originally planned to strip this thing down, primer, and dip it. And I used a dip kit, a commercial at-home dip kit product, and quite honestly, it was terrible. I'd get 2 or 3 parts that were just absolutely perfect, and then I'd get 2 that were just I'd made this mistake, and I'd correct that mistake, and I'd make another mistake, and it's just snowballed and snowballed. And you know, I'd get 2 parts messed up and 2 parts right, and you know, it just wasn't acceptable to have to redo 50% of this thing over and over again. And I wasn't making the same mistake twice. It was just a constant water temperature. Rinsed it off too early. Didn't rinse it off quick enough. You know. Just different stuff like that. I rubbed it once when I was rinsing it off and smeared a little bit of it, and just different things like that. And it was just the pattern, I put it in at a wrong angle and the pattern didn't transfer right. Pattern transferred everywhere except for one spot, and then when I had to go back and do that spot the second time, it looked really bad. So the at-home dip kit just didn't work for me, and I didn't have the patience to keep using it and keep going with it. I actually ran out of I still had film left, but I ran out of the primer and the activator. So I had 2 kits, but I wasn't about to mess up another kit. So we ended up giving that away on Facebook in cooperation with 3D Target Repair Foam. So I got rid of that kit and just decided to go ahead. And at that point, I had a bare bow. I had everything stripped down, and I needed to do something with it. So what I used to strip this bow, and use proper safety equipment, especially with this first stripper I'm going to show you. Good rubber gloves. Don't use the cheap little latex gloves like the you know, sanitary gloves, veterinary gloves, medics use, stuff like that. Don't use those little latex gloves. Use something good, strong like this that's rated for good chemical. The original stripper that I used for the aluminum parts only is this stripper right here. And we'll show you some video of this. What I did basically was took this stripper and just coated all the aluminum parts with it, let them set for 15-20 minutes, and took a wire brush like this one right here and just scraped them down and just rubbed them down as hard as I could and got all that film off there. And then just to continue that process until I had everything stripped off. And the original primer was pretty tough to get off of this Bear. I got the film dip off and it still had a white sheen to it, so I had to take this stuff back and go over it again. And then when I got done, I basically took it and put it into a solution of just Dawn dishwashing soap to get all the oils off of it, and got all the stripper off of it, as well as the oils and everything like that to prime it for painting. And once again, I only use this on the aluminum parts, and this is just a clean strip. It's KS-3 premium stripper, and works fantastic on aluminum parts. And my biggest worry was the limbs, getting the limbs stripped. So I did a little bit of asking around and found a product called Citrus Strip. This is it right here, and this is just a citrus-based stripper. and works. It's quite a bit slower and takes a little bit more time than the other stripper does. But you gotta be safe on these limbs, because there's glue in here. There's parts in here that if you put that other stripper on, it's actually going to break these limbs down and cause them to come, the glue, the laminate, whatever that's put together, it's going to cause it to come undone. So what I had to do with this stripper, this is the Citrus Strip. It's a paint and varnish stripping gel, and I was actually able to take my limbs and just dunk them right down in there and spread this stuff out over on top of my limbs. And I let it set for 24 hours the first time. Didn't really need to set that long, I found out. But I let it set for 24 hours, and then I took a scraper, putty knife, and just took over and just laid it real flat on the limbs and just peeled the top layer off of it. Once I got the top layer off, I had to do this 3 to 4 times to get it to finally get down to the actual limbs themselves. And was able to get it stripped down pretty good. It took about 4 to 5 hours is what I found to get it stripped down. I let it soak for 4 to 5 hours, come back and stripped it off, put it right back down into Citrus Stripper and let it set and let it soak again, and was able to strip all that down. So worked out pretty well stripping the limbs. Worked out really good to get them down into the raw form so I could paint them. Now, as far as the paint process on this goes, I've heard a lot of people say they use Duracoat and things like that, and I just didn't have that luxury to have I didn't have the money, and I didn't have the equipment to go out and get some really good high quality paint. So I talked to a friend of mine who paints cars for a living, and he pointed me in the direction of Valspar, and he kind of pointed me in the direction of this stuff right here. This is a satin. You can see the color. This is the tan that I used up here. It's an interior-exterior paint, and it's a good quality paint. And it's a paint and primer in one by Valspar. And to take it a little bit of a step further, I went ahead and used some Krylon on it per Robert's suggestions. This is a primer, and it's a Krylon Rudy Brown, and it primes, seals, protects, maximum coverage. So I painted everything with this primer first. And then I went over the top of it with this Valspar satin, which is the main color of this bow, and let that set. The biggest thing was to let it set. I put it under all my parts under a heat lamp, and let them set for about a week with that paint on there, and let it cure out really well. And then I took and I put 3 to 4 light coats on there. So I got a good coverage. Did 3 to 4 light coats, let it set for 24 hours. Did it again, and then let it cure for a week under a heat lamp. And then my final step for the aluminum parts was this fast drying polyurethane. It's just a polyurethane I had around here. It's a clear gloss, so it's got a little bit of a shine to it, but I liked it real well. Turned out looking pretty good, and this is another thing that Robert suggested. And again, set it under a lamp, let it set for 2 weeks, or let it set for about a week, and it did really good as far as covering, protecting that. My cams and my limb pockets and everything on here that's copper, which I scratched the hell out of it right there, but I use this Rust-Oleum, and this is called a hammered, and this is a hammered copper, and it makes it look like it's got a little bit of patina in there. It's just not just a flat copper. It's got a real cool effect to it, so it looks really nice, and this camera's probably not doing it justice, and the lighting in here is not very good right now, but this Rust-Oleum hammered is what I used on there, and I painted the primer over the top of it, and then put this Rust-Oleum over the top of the primer, and it worked out real well on there. Again, let it set for about a week and cure it under a heat lamp. Covered it with the polyurethane, and let it cure for about a week again. And then I've got a good, and it's a pretty good tough paint, I will say that. I mean, I've taken and put different rests on here and taken my sights off, and I've been able to do pretty good as far as keeping the paint. It doesn't peel off, it doesn't scratch off or anything like that. I've got some damage up here from pressing it that I've got to touch up, and I got some damage here. I drew it on my draw board, and I scraped it up against the there's a washer in there where I used to have a bolt, and the washer got embedded in the wood. I caught it right on that washer, so I'm pretty sure that would have scraped anything that I put on there. So the whole process took me about 2 weeks between tearing it all down, getting everything together, and painting everything, and getting it all set up and cured right. But I think this bow turned out really good, And the finish on it, other than having a few spots here and there, like in here, I didn't get all the old film dip out of there. Kind of looks pretty rough, but overall it looks really good, and I think it looks really nice and turned out pretty good. And overall, my investment in this thing was about 40 bucks. So between the little bit of paint that I had to buy and the stripper that I had to buy. And the thing with this stripper is both of these, I've got a ton of them left. I can do 2 to 3 bows with this stuff. So still got quite a bit of that left. Paint, of course, I use this on everything, so that's empty. Krylon's got, or the Valspar's got a little bit more in it. The hammered stuff, I've still got plenty of that left. Polyurethane, still got plenty of that left as well. So I could do another bow if I wanted to with the same stuff. If I want to strip another one down and do this bow again, I wouldn't have any problems doing that with what I've got left. So the main thing I was worried about was the cams, and I am seeing a little bit of flaking on there. But overall, it's not too bad, and I'll touch all that up and get it to where it looks pretty good. And the decals, I ordered these decals from Backwoods. I can't remember the name of her website, but we'll put a link right here to where we got these from. Backwoods did the decals for me, and they did my arrow wraps and stuff like that for me. So the biggest thing was tearing this thing down, and I took all the Bear decal emblems out, the grip out, everything like that, and got it all back to where it looks pretty much factory. But you know, it's not perfect, but that's what I did, and it seems to have worked out pretty good. So if you got any questions about what I've done to my bow, or the process that I use, I think I explained it pretty good. But if you got any questions, feel free to contact me on Facebook. Just search Ike's Outdoors. Contact us page on the website, which is ikesoutdoors.com, or you can email me directly, ikesoutdoors@yahoo.com. So I hope this helps you guys customize your bow a little bit. And like I said, this is not what I had planned originally, but I was stuck with a Bear bow and I had to do something, so this is what I ended up doing. So it worked out pretty well. I think this bow looks pretty sharp. Just a little bit of touch up to do, and it'll be in a really good shape. So appreciate you guys watching these videos.